Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode number 134 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. We call these episodes Fraternity Foodie because there is nothing like great food to bring people together. Now, make sure you go and check out our new book that we released 2 weeks ago. It's called From Letters to Leaders, Creating Impact on Your College Campus and Beyond. We are blessed for the support of all of our listeners. Go out and pick that up for your Kindle at only $2.99 right now. It's the best investment you're going to make all month, I promise you. Or you can have the paperback shipped to you for only $9.99 on Amazon. It is a bargain. Go out and get it. Today, we have with us Dr. Katie Nall, a late in life doctoral student. Katie Nall earned her Ph.D. in mathematics education just before her 60th birthday while working full-time at a local community college. Dr. Nall is employed full-time at the college. She teaches several mathematics courses and providing lecture and training for college-sponsored events. She is also a TEDx speaker. I watched the TEDx talk yesterday. I thought it was fantastic. She is an accredited master trainer, an EFT practitioner. She is an energetic podcast guest. She is an author, and she is a disc trainer extraordinaire at Knowledge Company. And get that, that's a play on words with Katie's last name, Knowledge Company. I absolutely love it. I love Katie. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Mike, thank you so much. I can't tell you what a thrill and an honor is to be here with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
That's very kind of you to say. And listen, we're always looking for people who are energetic and people who have information to share with our college students. And after I watched that TED Talk of yours, I said, you know what, we need Katie on the show. I need to hear from her directly because you have so much great information to share. And I think it's important for college students to know more about what it is that you do. Now, we'll start a little bit on your background. I think that's always important to set things up a little bit. You chose San Francisco State University for your undergraduate experience. By the way, that's my favorite city in the whole country. Why was this particular university the best choice for you?
Mike, it was totally because I couldn't get a divorce.
Okay.
I had a knight in shining armor come up and rescue me when we were living in San Diego. And he kept asking me to marry him. And I said, no, you don't understand. My career has got to come first. And I kept going with that. And he finally came home one day and said, you know what? If we get married, we get an extra $155 a month. And I said, well, that's interesting because he was in the Navy. And I said, well, then that sounds good. Let's go to Las Vegas this weekend and get married. But you have to understand that once we get out of the Navy and we're no longer paid, there's no reason to stay married. So we'll get a divorce. And he said, yes. So
Wow.
that's how we got married. And then as he was ending up his service and he knew that it was divorce time, he said, you know, the Navy will move us any place we want. And if you want to come along with me, you can. And I said, well, you know, I've always heard San Francisco would be interesting. So that's how I ended up in San Francisco State University.
Good for you. What a great story. And San Francisco is just beautiful. I mean, you know, just everything about it. I mean, the food is incredible on the pier. I mean, God almighty, is that wonderful. And then everything to go and look at. I mean, everything that's close by, Napa Valley, right across the bridge. Then, of course, you know, you got Alcatraz. It's just an incredible place for me. So there's so many good things to see and do. I mean, Chinatown. I mean, oh my God. I mean, I absolutely love it. I'm a huge fan of San Francisco, and I look forward to hanging out there anytime that I can. I often will speak at Berkeley, for example, and I'll usually stay in San Francisco because I just can't get enough. So that's my connection to San Francisco, and I don't blame you one bit.
The way I do when I go there. It's the most accepting community I've ever
Yes.
lived in my life. I
Right.
remember going to concerts, you know, there'd be free concerts in the park and I'd be sitting there and right next to me would be a very giant, large person with lots of tattoos and stud things all over them and enjoying the music. And on my other side, there would be this little old lady with white gloves and a little purse and a little hat. And we would all be sitting along and enjoying the music. And it just really is a very accepting, the vibe of the city is so healthy, I think.
Yes. Anything goes. That's for sure in San Francisco.
Not quite Key Westy, but
So you are campus director at Indian River State College. Talk to us a little bit about this satellite branch that has over 5,000 students. And I'm wondering, how have you been able to establish and grow enrollment since opening in 2007?
so Mike, we are Indian River State College is the third least expensive college in the United States.
Wow.
You think about all 50 states and even the state of Florida, we have over 200 colleges and universities in the state of Florida alone. You go up to places like where you're from in New York or in Boston, and you can't go a block without running into another college or university. And
Sure.
if you think about all of them, there are only two other colleges that are less expensive than Indian River State College. And you have to wonder, if we're so inexpensive, you kind of wonder, right?
Right.
But another institution looked at all the colleges across the United States that award associate's degrees, and they said of all the colleges in the United States that award associate's degrees, we have number one in terms of quality. That means that when our students start, they finish. When they finish, they get jobs in their area, and they're in sustainable jobs. 9 out of 10 of our students graduate owing no money, nothing,
Wow.
nada. Um, so the branch campus has been established in 1960, and I was in charge of starting a satellite site about 20 miles north of the branch campus. So we had our main campus, and then 20 miles was our branch campus, and another 20 miles was the site. I'm actually sitting in it right now. So we have a historic school building that was built in 1926. We're almost at 100 years, and we have 4 classrooms. We have, before the pandemic, we had over 700 registrations coming through this little site right here. So it's been exciting and quite a challenge to be able to grow and maintain this site here.
Good for you. I love the affordability. I love that students are graduating with no debt. I mean, that is a dream. I mean, for any students that are listening right now, figure out a way to go to college with little to no debt. This is what you really want to focus on. Hindsight is always 2020, and I feel terrible because I look at the rising costs of college education today, and I'm just overwhelmed by it all. I mean, I have two high school kids myself, and so I'm starting to think about the cost of education right now.
Well, consider Indian River State College.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not kidding. I mean, that is just fantastic. You're also an accredited disc trainer. Now, I'm familiar with what that is, but explain to our audience what disc is and how can we use it to smash stress to smithereens?
So it turns out I'll talk a little bit more about stress, but a lot of our stress is because we can't feel like we're communicating. And DISC, which stands for 4 types of personalities, can help us with our communication and reduce our stress. So when I give talks on DISC, and I do this, I love to do this with high school students and college students who don't know exactly what they want to do. And with 2 simple questions, I can identify the careers that, now obviously anybody can do anything they want, right? But depending on your personality, I like to help students find the career that they can wake up in the morning and say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that they're paying me to do this job. That's the kind of thing that DISC can do, which in turn will smash stress to smithereens.
I love it. That is a great way of putting it. It's also, I think, very helpful for college students, especially ones that are in student organizations, to learn how to communicate with each other. You have to know who is in your organization, and we can't treat everybody the same. I think that's the point of the exercise, is that everybody is different. They have different things that work for them in terms of communication. And I think as a leader, the more that you understand that and the more that you understand your team, the better a leader you're going to be. And so that's one of the reasons why I love DISC, and I love that you're using it the way that you're using it. I think that's fantastic. Now, the other thing that's very interesting about you is you're very into emotional freedom technique, or something is abbreviated in the industry as EFT. It's also known as tapping. So how does this technique help to reduce anxiety?
Well, Mike, it turns out Dr. Hans Seeley over 100 years ago found that there were 3 things that trigger distress. One is uncertainty, 2 is lack of information, and 3 is loss of control. know about you, Mike, but today I'm feeling all three of them.
That's right. We all are.
We all are, which is part of the reason why people are feeling so stressed, and they're feeling, people are behaving like they have short tempers. I'm kind of scared to go and drive right now because people are all over the place. Emotional freedom technique is a method to be able to not just reduce but eliminate worries, anxiety, fear, frustration, lethargy, exhaustion, and stress. And if you're up for it, Mike, I would love to give you an example. Would you be a guinea pig for me?
I would be a guinea pig for you. I am up for anything. You know that about me.
Yes, I do. You're an amazing person. So let me ask you, in the last 24, 48 hours, has anything triggered worries, anxiety, fear, frustration, lethargy, exhaustion, or stress, or
Yeah.
waffles?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions.
Okay.
So, what is it? And here's the thing: you don't have to tell me. We can just say that thing. But
Mhm.
if you would feel comfortable telling the audience, what was it that caused you your waffles?
So in this particular case, I'm working on a very big grant with the state of Tennessee, and and there's also some federal money coming in. And to be quite honest with you, I'm having trouble getting the budget to work. And so this is causing me a lot of stress because I know what a great opportunity that would be for Wilson County in Tennessee to get this funding, but I don't know how to make the math work. I mean, the budget is just a mess, and we might have to give up on this opportunity, and that in itself is just causing me a lot of stress.
Yeah. Okay. So, from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes, where's that stress in your body?
I mean, I can feel it in my neck. It's kind of tense.
Yeah.
So that's typically like where I end up just feeling a lot of it. There's a lot of stress in there.
Okay. And the amount of stress that's in your neck from 0 to 10, where 0 is like, I'll be able to figure it out, and 10 is the most stress you've ever felt ever.
Yeah.
Where number would you give it?
I mean, it's probably middle of the road. I mean, I've slept wrong a few times, and I remember that would be kind of on a 9 or a 10 scale. So I would probably say it's probably a 4 or 5.
Okay. And is this a true statement? Right here, right now, I feel safe.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you parrot me and tap on parts of your body like I'm tapping on mine. And then we're going to add words. When we add words, I'm going to ask you to repeat phrases. If I ask you to say something and you go, you know, Katie, that's not exactly true, or I wouldn't phrase it that way. Will you rephrase it in your own words for me?
Okay, sure.
Okay, I think we're ready to go.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do first of all is show you the places we're going to tap. So if you could tap along, and if your audience members tap along with us, they may experience something called borrowing benefits, and they may feel an energy shift themselves, even though they may not be stressed about getting the budget done.
Very cool. All right.
So on the side of your hand, between your wrist and your little finger, and it doesn't matter which hand,
Mhm.
you're going to tap using your other hand. So there you go. That's it. And while you're tapping, you can just think about that budget and how much stress is causing you in your neck, and kind of just breathe a little bit while you're thinking about that. And then the next spot that we're going to tap is right on the top of our head, right on the top of our head. And you can use one hand or the other, or you can do both and have your monkey move going on. The next spot, Mike, is right on the edge of the eyebrow above the nose. So make sure it's right above the nose. There you go. Yeah, right above the nose. And think about that stress in your neck. Yeah. Our next spot is going to be on the edge of our eye, next between our hairline and edge of the eye. So it's right here. And again, you can use one hand or the other or both. It doesn't matter. And then our next spot is where I keep all my bags because I'm ready to go at any time. So it's right under the eyes. And thinking about the stress of that budget and how it's going to work. And then the next spot is under your nose, right above your lip. And then it's under your lip, above your chin. And then I'm going to ask you to cross your wrists and put your tap right on your collarbone on both sides. Oh, that feels so good. And then our last spot, Mike, is about 4 inches under your arm. So go about 4 inches down and give it a good thump. There you go. And you can use one hand or the other or both, or you can do it this way. It doesn't matter as long as you get to that spot. And then just kind of relax a little bit. How's the neck feel now?
I don't feel any pain. I don't feel anything.
Well, let's do it with words, even though you don't feel any pain.
I mean, I don't feel as stressed. I don't know. There's something very comforting about that exercise. I've
Well,
never done it, to be, totally transparent with you. I've never done anything like that. But I got to tell you, it felt very comforting to me.
well, let's add the words and see what else happens, shall we?
Okay, sure.
Okay. So we're going to start on the side of the hand
Uh-huh.
and repeat after me as long as it's true, even though
Even though
when I think about that budget,
when I think about that budget,
I don't know how it's going to work.
I don't know how it's going to work.
And it gives me so much stress in my neck.
And it gives me so much stress in my neck.
Right here, right now, I feel safe anyway.
Here, right now, I feel safe anyway.
And then we're going to repeat the sentence 2 more times, even though
Even though
I have all this stress in my neck.
I have all this stress in my neck,
Just thinking about trying to make that budget work.
just thinking about making that budget work.
Right here, right now, I feel safe anyway.
Right here, right now, I feel safe anyway.
Even though,
Even though,
how am I going to get that budget to work?
how am I going to get that budget to work?
It's just stressing my neck out so much thinking about it.
It's stressing my neck out thinking about it.
Right here, right now, I feel safe anyway.
Right here, right now, I feel safe anyway.
And then top of your head, all this stress in my neck.
All this stress in my neck.
Edge of the eyebrow, all this stress in my neck.
All this stress in my neck.
Side of the eye, all this stress in my neck.
All this stress in my neck.
Under the eye, all this stress in my neck.
All this stress in my neck.
Under the nose, this stress is in my neck.
This stress is in my neck.
Under the lips, so much stress in my neck.
So much stress in my neck.
And then cross your hands on your collarbone. My neck is full of stress.
My neck is full of stress.
And then under your arm, so much stress in my neck.
So much stress in my neck.
And then I always ask my clients to blow the air out in a cartoonish like fashion. So we go like this. I feel now.
I feel great. I feel I don't know, ready to go back to work and get that budget done.
You can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm ready to get it done. It does release a lot of stress for me. And it's just interesting how all of that works. I've never been through an exercise like that.
It's a lot of fun. And I do work with a lot of college and math students. I had one high school student who had taken the SAT once and did well, but she felt like she could do better,
Mhm.
You and I have done that before, right? So,
Sure.
if I only tried a little harder. So
Sure.
she signed up for a second time, studied her butt off, just, really intensely, took it the second time, and you know what happened? Her scores went down. So she said, I know I can do this. So she registered a third time, and life got in the way. She was doing this and that and the other. And it was 1 week before the SAT. And she's like, oh, I haven't studied. I've got to do better. I don't know what I'm going to do. So her mom hired me, and we did a session on Monday, a session on Wednesday, a session on Friday. She took the test on Saturday, and Mike, her score went up 90 points.
Wow.
Significant jump.
That is significant. I'm going to have to use this technique with my kids. I'm telling you, they feel stress all the time. And if I had to go to like tapping with them, this would be wonderful.
Yeah, and I actually teach tapping classes for those who, I do consults, but I'm also teaching tapping via Zoom.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to learn it, I can do that too.
That's a great technique. I mean, my kids get stressed out about all kinds of things, and you just need a tool in your toolbox to be able to use when those times come. So if they know how to do it, or you can teach them, or you can teach me, however it works, I'm all for it to have that in the toolbox. That's fantastic.
And I work on all kinds of people. Our youngest granddaughter, we were visiting her 2 weeks ago, and she was mad, Mike. Oh my gosh. She was so mad she couldn't cry. All she could do is scream.
Mhm.
And so, it was way past her nap time, and she was screaming and screaming and screaming. And I said, well, is it okay if I tap on her? And they said, yes, you can tap, just whatever, just do something.
Right.
And so I started tapping on her, and I didn't get all the way through, and she was out like a light.
That is so incredible. I absolutely love it. All right, I'm going to have to do some more research on this and we're going to set up a session. This is really, really good. Now, you have a presentation out there that's called Surviving the Circus. And there are so many things that are demanding the attention of our students on campuses today. So, what are some methods that students can use to stay focused while still enjoying the circus around them?
Well, Michael, I figured this out when I was a full-time employee and decided to go back to school for my PhD.
Mhm.
Um, and I finished it in 4 years. But what happened is before I started it, and because I was a mature adult, I knew that in order for me to dedicate time to that, I was going to have to give up something else.
Mhm.
And so I had to look at my life and figure out what am I going to have to give up in order to accomplish this goal. And that process brought me to define something called create your fate, where I found that there's 8 facets of our life, and there's no one time when everything is in balance. So what we do is decide what is our focus today. And based on what our focus today is, what are we going to give up to be able to focus on that?
Mhm.
And I think that's the biggest trick, is to understand that I can't be balanced on all eight areas. And the 8 areas are, the first one is function. What do you do during the day? Are you a full-time student? Are you working full-time? Are you retired? Are you a speaker like Mike? The next one is foundation. What are you doing? What did you have to do to get to where you are? Or what additional education do you have to do, or apprenticeship or experience do you have to do to get to where you want to be? Next one's family, the people who got you to age 18. Next one is friends, because, family. And then we have finances. We have fitness, the 6 avenues of fitness: the way you breathe, the way you eat, the way you drink, the way you move, the way you rest, the way you think. Then there's faith. If you don't have faith in something, there's nothing to hold on to. And then the last one, which is the hardest one for me, Mike, is fun. I actually have to schedule fun in every week, or else I'll just blow right past it, because, there's things to
Sure.
do.
Wow, that is really, really good. And I can see how that would work as well. And I've had to do that in my life numerous times, whether I was going for a master's degree or I was, getting started with a new nonprofit in town. You really do have to kind of do an inventory of your time and your focus and figure out how you're going to make space for all of this. And so sometimes, you have to leave some things behind. I mean, that's, there's the truth of life, I think. And the other thing that I want to talk about is listening skills. What are some ways to teach others around us to listen to what it is that we have to say, and also for us to learn how we can listen better?
Great question, Mike. And I would reverse the order,
Okay.
because when we listen more, others are going to listen more to us. And how do you listen? This is a trick that I tell my audience to do, is that, and we actually do this as an exercise. You cannot believe how hard it is for people, and people start squirming in their seats and they're like, I can't do this. I can't do this. But I ask one, we pair up and ask one person to tell a story, and the other person has to wait until the first person is finished, and then they have to count to 3 before they can open their mouth. So hard to stop and count 1, 2, 3 before you can say anything.
Mm.
Because, right, when we're listening to somebody, aren't we like trying to figure out, oh, what's the next response? What do we have to be doing next? And the one instrument that has most affected our listening skills, it was the advent of the radio. Think about it. Before the radio, it was conversation, and people weren't talking all the time, right? There were lulls. There were times where it was completely quiet sometimes, or you'd talk and you'd have a conversation and somebody would say something and you'd think about what they said, and then you'd reply back. But now, because of radio, we have to have noise all the time.
Mm.
And so we've been trained in that, and it turns out we don't have to have it all the time.
Yeah, that is so interesting. And, I think a lot of times, the silence can get a bit uncomfortable. When we're doing exercises, people will just blurt anything out to eliminate the silence, even though, they might not necessarily have a well thought out idea yet.
And doesn't that happen in every meeting you've attended?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. That is so interesting. And also, the other thing that was kind of interesting about you is that you really do a lot of work with John Randolph Price's the 40-day prosperity plan. So I'm wondering, why is it that you find that to be so useful to you?
A friend of mine during the pandemic reached out and she said, "Hey, there's this 40-day prosperity plan. You want to try it?" I'm like, ah, like you, Mike, I'm game for anything.
Sure.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
And it turned out it's 40 days of journal prompts where you write, and then you write the journal prompt and then you write your response. And she and I did it for 40 days. And so I'm going to contrast the two of us. She is a renowned atheist. I'm spiritual. She is an entrepreneur and has her own business. I'm obviously an employee with an entrepreneurial side. And the ideal way to do it is you write the journal prompt every day for 40 days. However, the caveat is if you skip a day, so if you write journal 1, 2, 3, 4, and on day 5 you skip a day, you don't try and make up, you go back to day 1. Well,
Wow.
my friend, I don't think she ever got past day 15 because she would start and she would go. I, on the other hand, religiously started on day 1 and went all the way through day 40.
Mhm.
At the end of 40 days, she doubled her sustainable monthly income in 40 days.
Wow.
I'm an employee. I'm like, how can anything prosperous happen to me? Until I stopped to think, oh my gosh, in those 40 days, un, un, I didn't ask for it. I ended up with an extra $10,000. Now, to you, Mike, that's probably not a big deal, but to me, it was huge in 40 days to get to receive, this gift of $10,000. And so I started talking to other friends and they're like, yeah, yeah, I've done it before and nothing ever happened. So my friend and I were trying to figure out what is the difference? What are we doing differently? Well, what we were doing differently is we were checking in with each other. And we were also um, doing tapping on our money blocks. And so it was a combination of the journal prompts plus the accountability plus the tapping. So I started a mastermind, and we're in our 5th iteration of our mastermind, and the responses have been unbelievable. Sometimes it's as early as day 3 that people receive, unsolicited gifts. There are other times where one of the biggest, because prosperity is different for everybody, right? What prosperity means. Something that just warms my heart, Mike, is that so many people were able to be able to say the word no and not worry about how the other person felt. Now, these are people who, since you're familiar with DISC, these are our high S people who will always say yes, right? And they were able to learn to say no and not feel bad. And that was huge. We also have people who have gone so far as they're making commercials for MasterCard and getting contracts with, all the large, and name any large corporation, and they're getting speaking contracts with them. We've had people who have started new careers. It has just been, it is so far beyond what I could have ever imagined. So it is abundance and it's prosperity that is defined for each individual.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I'm sure all of our listeners can use an extra $10,000 right now. So you might have a whole bunch of students that miraculously sign up for your mastermind tomorrow. That is fantastic. That is really, really good news. I love it. So let me tell you, my kids, they're in high school right now. My daughter is a freshman. My son is a sophomore in high school. They are really unsure about their intended major and their possible career, which I'm sure you find to be very common. So what do you suggest for students in high school or even students in college that are listening right now that are unsure about their current career direction? Is the answer DISC? Is the answer something in addition to DISC? How can they find their direction?
So, Mike, when I have students who come to me who don't know what they want to do, first of all, I get very excited. I love those students. I would definitely start with DISC because you can kind of narrow down,
Mhm.
where their area of interest, where they might thrive. And then from there, there's a great Bureau of Labor Statistics and Occupational Outlook Handbook. Are you familiar with that?
No, but I'd love to know
Well,
more.
let me give you the website.
All right.
It's www.b for bureau, L for labor, S statistics.gov/OOH. So it's Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's government website, Occupational Outlook Handbook.
All
And
right.
then let's say that they decide that they are a high D, which is usually a leadership position, and that they're interested in sports. So maybe they might want to become an agent, sports agent. Well, in the Occupational Outlook Handbook, you can look up individual careers and they can tell you what the median salary is. So for all you non-statisticians, think of median like in a intersection where the median is right in the middle and half of the intersection is on one side and half is on the other side. So a median salary would be right in the middle, which is different than the average. So a median salary, and it also will tell you what kind of work they do during the day, how much education you need, and it also tells you their prediction. And although none of us could tell the future, I mean, I don't know about you, Mike, but I would have done something different 10 years ago if I could have.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Right? But it does predict based on the numbers that it knows. It's a government agency. It does predict how many jobs there are going to be in that area.
Hmm.
I had one student who said he wanted to be a forest ranger. I said, that's great. Let's look it up. And it tells us how many jobs there are in 10 years. So you take the last zero off to get how many jobs in a year, and then take that number and divide by 50 for how many jobs in an individual state. Now, I know Wyoming does not have the same number of jobs as New York. It's just an approximate.
Right.
But once you do that, and we did that for this particular student, and it turned out on average, the number of forest rangers that they anticipate will be hired in the next 10 years is 5 in the state of Florida. I said, that's great. And if this is your passion, you need to do this. And then you need to figure out how those 5 got their jobs, because there's more than 5 that are applying for it. So do you have to be a relative of the governor? Do you have to be born in the forest? What criteria do you have to be able to go after that? And I think the combination of that, Mike, would be really, really helpful.
Wow, that is absolutely great information. That's gold right there. BLS.gov/OOH. Go and check out that resource. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's incredible. And as you know, we do love good food here at Fraternity Foodie. So I need to know, you're at Vero Beach in Florida. What is your favorite restaurant in town?
So confession here, I'm a vegan celiac. So that means
Okay.
that I eat a lot of vegetables and fruits. So my favorite restaurant here is Palados. It's run by a Colombian woman by the name of Consuelo, and she makes fabulous salads for me. And so that's my favorite place to go.
That sounds delicious. I'm sure Consuelo is going to be very happy that you mentioned her restaurant on this podcast. She's going to get a whole bunch of new business, and that's what we hope happens. So that's fantastic. All right. So if our listeners want to connect with you or they want to bring you in to speak, where is the best place for them to go and to connect with you?
So my email is hello@drnall.com. So it's HELLO@DRNALL.com. And I will challenge your listeners, Mike. I give my phone number out on podcasts all the time, and no one has called me yet. So they can
Wow.
call me. It's area code 772-226-0167. Again, that number is 772-226-0167. My website is knowledgecompany.com. That's www.nalledgeco.com. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm in Clubhouse.
Wow, look at you. You're even on Clubhouse. Man, I don't even have a Clubhouse account.
I
I'm stuck with this Android phone and I don't even have an iPhone yet.
They're going to be opening it up to Android phones. So when you need an invite, let me know. I've got a whole slew of them.
Look at you, a mover and a shaker. I love it. I mean, you're the perfect guest on the Fraternity Foodie podcast. I absolutely love it. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for leading us through this, the tapping and the EFT. This was absolutely wonderful. I know that students all over the country are going to be checking this out. So thank you on their behalf for introducing them to something new today. I thought it was wonderful.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to be on your show. I'm so impressed.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners. If you enjoyed this show with Katie, please like it. Please share it with other students on campus, maybe that are feeling anxiety or something like that, where you can help them just by sharing this podcast with them. So please share that on social media. And we look forward to seeing you on another episode of Fraternity Foodie. Bye for now.